G'day ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me on my journey into the constraints-led approach for BJJ. My name is Sam Battlefields and we are going to have a chat about the games that were played today and what I got out of them, what I could improve, etc. So starting the day with our boxing game, which is touch of shoulders, touch of torso. So we did have someone who's not commonly in class. He does rock up, but he works overseas quite a bit. So Paul he's been training with us for a while, but kind of trains overseas as well, lucky bastard. But he also trains, with Alex and so a variety of different people, and so he doesn't necessarily get to do a lot of the kind of the warm-up stuff that we do, such as boxing, etc. So we started with the boxing. That was cool. It was interesting to see that we definitely, Ridwan and I, our footwork is drastically improved, and there is a much more, I suppose, emphasis on throwing like things that would likely be a proper strike, rather than the pawing at something, which tends to happen. And then we did boxing with double connection, however that may be. Now, one of the things that was quite interesting is that Paul was saying that he needs to get his cardio up, and I was just like, yep, cool, just like with that stand-up stuff, just come in more often. But he made an interesting point, and I'm just going to bring it up because he said, I want to come in and do, just do some more of those solo drills, like, shrimping and all that. And I was like, I mean, look, you can, it's not going to hurt you. You're going to get better at shrimping up and down the mats, but shrimping up and down the mats is not going to make you any better at escaping using shrimps, because even though you will have a stronger system, you won't have the perception action coupling of your body to know when they're destabilized and unbalanced, that you can then take your hips away. Anyway, we'll kind of get back to this. So the next game was guard, and this particular game, it was probably my biggest failure of the day was in creating this game. What I was looking for was essentially from guard being able to get a hold of the top of their shoulder onto some sort of a straight arm lock, like where it's over the shoulder, blah blah blah. And there's a reason for it. I wanted to be able to separate that one arm. So the goal was to have the top of their arm on the shoulder and controlled on that shoulder. Okay. I couldn't get it. I couldn't break the posture in order to get it. Even when I was able to break the posture, I wasn't able to get the arm over the shoulder. There could be a number of reasons for that. One, I think mostly, is that that there was no secondary win condition. So, for example, there was numerous times where I kind of broke the posture, could potentially have put him, maybe not on his back, but maybe on his back, and I didn't, or like maybe I was nowhere near that, but I could see that the guys could do that. So Ridwan was able to almost, like, he was fully set up to do an armbar on me from underneath. So there were some things where a secondary win condition would have improved that dramatically, because then there's the threat of that where you try to exit out of that threat, and in that big moment of movement you end up providing enough space, etc., for them to do something to you. That was cool. Just sort of, so here's another thing that I've taken a quick note of. During the game, I'm hesitant to change the game, particularly if I've just rolled and then it's like I can't get it, and so I'm hesitant to change the game because it's like, oh well, I didn't get it, so therefore the game is wrong. Whereas, so what I'm trying to say is, like, sometimes you need to eat humble pie in not only your game design, but also in the fact that you lose the game that you played, that you created. It's it's like the Poms with virtually any sport. They create the game, and then all of a sudden the rest of the world kicks their ass at it. So yeah, now just dropping back quickly to boxing with the double connection, it was interesting to see everyone changed their focus from striking. The striking was just no longer on the cards as much as it was an entry point for for grappling, which was pretty cool, and it showed me something about mentality of our guys. But yeah, anyway, back to the guard. I need to open the win conditions. I think I need to have 2 or 3 in this particular game, and I'll explain why I didn't in a second. But when I look back at my notes, you'll understand. Well, I understand why I fucked up. But I need to open those landscape of affordances, because currently, when you've just got one thing to do, then all roads lead to that. And if someone can put up a block, a step or 2 back, then they're able to block you from everything. Whereas if there is a secondary win condition, you'll be able to fix that issue. But yeah, I also don't want to be that guy that's like, oh, I didn't win, so I'm changing the parameters of the game. Yeah. So the one thing I also wanted to show, which kind of evolved. So in my notes, I was like, I'm going to do an armbar in reverse, but considering considering 2 things. One, I left this bastard on my kitchen desk kitchen table this morning, which meant that I didn't have my notes, and so I kind of was, even though I wasn't winging it like I'd planned, I did remember that I wanted to do armbar in reverse, but it showed up. So Ridwan was able to sweep because he collected the arm. He was able to do a sweep and get into mount and then sort of battle for the single arm. And I was like, you know what? That was going to be pretty much the end game anyway. And because there was a bit of talking throughout the lesson, it wasn't probably the most exhaustive. It probably wasn't the most energetic and consistently energetic class or workshop that I've done. Because of that, that last game needed to sort of speed up. So I ended up just saying, hey, look, I just want you to separate an arm to the shoulder, but this time from mount. And again, being that it was a singular focus, it definitely reduced the landscape of affordances probably too much, in my humble opinion. And it's something that I'll work on for next time. So I think having at least two win conditions that could be met is going to work. I think one of the other things I really wanted to do was just show that, essentially guard and mount are just the same thing, just flipped over. So, and that's something that kind of got a hold of Ridwan, and he was like, "Whoa, man!" I'm like, "Yeah." And then, like last week, Paul wasn't here last week. As I said, he's a bit of a jet setter. So all the stuff that we worked on last week around, framing off the hips rather than worrying about what's going on up here, it became really stark to him, and that was awesome. He was able to sort of have a revelation regarding it, and I actually had a bit of a revelation in my own coaching, because a couple of days ago or last week when Ben was in, and I was trying to tell it, like trying to bring people's attention to where are your hands and where should they be, like, should you be focusing on the upper body, or wouldn't it be better to be focused on the hips? And I had Ben essentially sort of sit there and go, "Oh, but I wasn't doing it," and I was like, "But you were." And I think part of it was, I could hear myself, and there's a black belt in particular that I was saying this to, I could hear myself going, nah, but I was trying this one thing that would have got you if I had got it. But when the black belt is just like, dude, it wasn't doing anything that you think it was doing. Like, so, bringing it, in this case, I think it was definitely a coaching thing. I had approached this this situation as, I am a benevolent God about to bestow on you some information that will assist you moving forward in your mount escaping. And it's like, dude, you're not showing anything. In reality, what I should have done, and I thank Slime Mold Grappling, which I have an interview with coming up very soon, so looking forward to that. That's a really cool, that's going to be a really cool podcast. Yeah, he put forth the question, what are you guys struggling with, and then trying to address it that way, rather than, and I found this last week. I found, I think because I was mostly around white belts, that I didn't have an ego check where I was like, is there anything to add? Like my ego wasn't in check. So, that's a good thing to realise, and that's I think what I'll end today on. I've got a really cool interview coming up later on this week with Keith Davids and David Farrock, and then next week with Trey from Slime Mold Grappling, I believe. So yeah, I am so keen for these upcoming interviews. And on top of that, I've got some more cool stuff just on the screen. I tend to get better engagement when I've got something on the screen, so that's the reason why I'm doing it. It's a pretty funny little meme, and this is everyone on IP when you should be on CLA, and remove that eraser. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you think. Peace.